Yo, welcome back to the channel, guys. Working on the XJ here. Gonna be doing the steering system. Let me take you to the front, show you what we're getting into. So I got a bunch of new parts right here. We're gonna be replacing everything. That way every joint in the steering system is brand new and it should tighten everything up. All right, just so everyone's on the same page, I'm gonna quickly go over the steering system. That way when I'm installing everything and talking about each part, everyone's on the same page about what's going on. So starting up here with your steering gearbox, attached to that is your pitman arm, this piece right here. Attached to the other end of the pitman arm is the drag link, and the drag link is a solid bar that attaches to your passenger side knuckle. And whenever you turn your steering wheel, the pitman arm will pivot either left or right and will push the drag link, which will then push your steering knuckle and allow you to turn. And then for the driver's side wheel to turn in unison with the passenger side, there's this other bar. This is your tie rod, and the tie rod connects to the drag link right here, so that way when the drag link moves, the tie rod moves and both wheels can steer. And then on your steering knuckle, there's two ball joints, one on top and one on the bottom, that attach to the knuckle, and that's what allows the knuckle to pivot separate to the axle. And then finally there's a steering stabilizer that is bolted to the drag link and then bolted solid to the axle, and that is just to absorb the shock of the steering system and keep everything tight. And that's the basics of it, really. It's a really simple system. It's just that wherever there's a mounting location, there's a ball joint. So there's four total, one at each knuckle, one there, one there. There's a ball joint here connecting the tie rod to the drag link, and then finally there's a ball joint up here connecting the drag link to the pitman arm. And over time, just like anything else, these will wear out and go bad and really cause your steering system to loosen up and can even cause death wobble. So since we already did brand new ball joints on both sides on the knuckle, I went ahead and just bought everything else. That way the whole steering system has new joints and is good to go. So we're gonna go ahead and get the steering system removed. I'm gonna start with the pitman arm and the end link up there. There's a castle nut with a cotter pin through it, and then getting the steering stabilizer off of the drag link. Get this old cotter pin out first. 3/4 inch nut on there. Now same thing on the pitman arm. Got a cotter pin and a 3/4 inch nut. Got the nut off there. I can't really get a hammer in there. Let's see if I can pry it out with this. Got the drag link off. Here's the stabilizer. Now all we have to do is remove the two end links at each knuckle, and this whole thing will come out. Now that I got that out, I'm gonna take it over to the workbench and I'll show you what we need to do. So we need to transfer a couple things that aren't gonna be brand new. One of which is the tie rod. The end links on each end are threaded in to the tie rod. They're held in by these little collars. So we just have to loosen up the collars, and then the end link will thread right out. And then also on the drag link, there's this sleeve right here, a threaded sleeve, and the end link screws into one end, and then the drag link squeezes into the other end. But everything else is getting replaced. The reason you replace the whole drag link is because at the end, it's not threaded, so this ball joint is just part of the drag link itself. But before we do any of that, we need to get a paint stick. We need to mark how many threads are screwed in on this end link. That way with the new end link, we can count the threads and make sure we put it in the same way it came out. Same thing on the drag link, need to mark those. So I'm gonna loosen up the sleeve here, two 15mm nuts. They don't need to come out, they just need to be loose because it's just a clamp. So now I should be able to thread the end link out of the sleeve. So in this case, it's reverse threads coming out, meaning turn it right to loosen it. Same idea on the tie rod, just need to loosen the clamp. Got a 13mm nut end bolt. I put the tie rod in the vise here. These end links are in there pretty tight, but on this side you can actually use the old drag link for some leverage and spin it off. And for the other side here, I would suggest a pipe wrench, because like I said, they're pretty tight on there. Now that everything's removed, I'm gonna go grab the new end link and then compare it to the mark I made on this one, make a mark on the new one, and then we'll install it in the tie rod right away. So I counted 9 threads on the old one up top here, did the same on this one. So I'm gonna take it over and install it into the tie rod. Got it in there, as you can see. I'm not going to tighten the sleeve yet till everything's installed. We'll get it adjusted and fine-tuned, and I'm not really too worried about it because I'm going to be doing an alignment as soon as I'm done with all this. Same deal for the other side of the tie rod. Compare the new one to this one, make a mark, and install it. So now with both end links installed, the tie rod is ready to go back in. And then finally, one more time with the new drag link, you guessed it, count the threads with the old mark, and then do the same thing to the new one. Now that we're done referencing all the old stuff, we can go ahead and get it out of the way, throw it on the scrap pile. I'm gonna put the sleeve back on now that I have a mark on the new drag link. Got it lined up, so I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this side. And then one more end link. This is the one that goes on this end of the drag link and to the pitman arm. Well, shit, I ordered the wrong one. That's too thin. But honestly, I was looking at this one, and I think I did it recently because it looks pretty new. So I'm just gonna stick it back on. Oh well. Now we'll head back underneath the Jeep, install the new drag link. This end goes to the knuckle, and then that end to the pitman arm. New drag link is in. I got the nut started. I'm not gonna tighten anything down just yet. Gonna wait till it's all installed, and then we'll snug everything down. So I'm gonna go grab that tie rod off the vise, and we'll put that in next. And then again with the tie rod, one end goes to the drag link, and then the other to the knuckle. Then lastly, we'll get this old stabilizer out, 3/4 inch nut and bolt, holding it to the axle. We already took off the other side. So there it is. Got the new stabilizer here. Really just goes in the same way. One end back into the axle bracket, and then the other end to the empty hole in the drag link. We're ready to tighten everything down. All of them are 55 foot-pounds. Just make sure you get them all. There is 5 total. Passenger side knuckle, tie rod on the passenger side, steering stabilizer, pitman arm, and driver side knuckle. Now most of them should tighten up really nicely because they're nice new stiff joints, and the stud shouldn't spin when you're tightening it. But if you have to put in an old one like I had to do up here because I ordered the wrong one, and the stud wants to spin when you're trying to tighten it, grab your old friend the pipe wrench and just put some leverage on it to kind of pinch the stud in the hole, and while you're pushing on that you can tighten the nut down, and that worked for me. So now I can torque them down. Once all your cotter pins are on, I went ahead and stuck all the grease fittings onto the new joints, and now that that's done, I'm gonna go ahead and grease them all up. So we're gonna want just enough grease to where that boot starts to swell, right about there, and we're gonna go through and do all of them. Now at this point we are pretty much done, but it needs aligned, and if you wanted to, you could of course take it to a shop, get it aligned there, but if you are gonna go that route, make sure you tighten up these end clamps, the ones we left loose. I'm gonna do my own alignment here, and I'm gonna show you how I do it. Let's check it out. So to start our alignment, we need straight edges on each side to take a measurement off of. So I just put these old steel wheels on. That way the tape measure can grab onto it. And then what we're gonna do is from end to end, grab a measurement on the front of the wheel and on the back of the wheel. And that way we can see what our toe looks like. So I got my tape measure here. I'm gonna reach across to the other wheel and put it on the outside lip. And then bring it to the outside lip of this side, and then get our measurement. So we got 69, nice, and 7/8 of an inch on the front. Same deal on the back, edge to edge, and we got 70 3/4. So since the back is wider than the front, that means the alignment right now is toed in, which means the wheels are pointed towards each other in the front. So now I'm gonna show you what to do to adjust it, and we're gonna move it back out. So all we need to do to adjust the toe is turn the tie rod because it's threaded. So when we turn it, it'll push the tie rods out opposite of each other. That one will go that way. This one will go towards the driver's side. Got to make sure these sleeves are loose here, which they are since we just put it on. Got the pipe wrench again. Just going to start turning it. So it's starting to push out. So we'll do that. A couple more turns and I'll check the measurement. So now we have 70 even to the edge on the front. And we got about 70 5/8 on the back. So we're going in the right direction, but a little more yet. But you get the idea. Just keep turning the tie rod, which will push the end links out, and just keep checking your measurements until you're in spec. All right, I think this should be it. I did one more adjustment on the tie rod. We got 70 3/8 on the back, and we got 70 1/4 in the front, meaning that the alignment is toed in 1/8 of an inch, which is about what we want. So now I'm going to tighten up the sleeves, and that'll set the alignment. So now we got the collars nice and tight on both sides. The tie rod is fixed in place. Now after doing that, that probably messed with the steering wheel, so it's probably not straight anymore. So as you can see, the wheel is turned to the left, but we can fix that too. We'll go back underneath and I'll show you. So to get the steering wheel adjusted, we're gonna do the same idea on the drag link. Loosen up the 2 clamps and then just turn it either which way to shorten or lengthen it. Do that, and I'll go inside and check. As you can see, it moved a lot. Not quite straight yet, almost there. Check it out. A little too far. You get the idea. Got it nice and straight right there. Tighten up the 2 clamps and then we're done. So everything's tight, the steering wheel's straight. So that wraps it up for our steering system, guys, and that's gonna be the end of this video. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.